Hey there, welcome back. My name is Katie, and this is Louisiana Cooking and Living. And today we are going to be making something from the pantry that you helped me can one day. I realized that I really don't show you much of what I do once I can my canned goods with you guys. Let me just open my pantry here and you can see what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can bring you in closer. So I have canned most of these things with you guys. Maybe not this batch of chicken broth, but I have canned chicken broth with you guys. I've canned the beans with you guys. I've canned spaghetti sauce and salsas. I've canned all these kind of things with you guys. The cherry pie filling is down here. And I don't ever show you much what I do with it. So I thought today I would do that with my apple pie filling that I made with you guys. I have one jar left. And I canned this up with you guys. And we are going to use this today. So hopefully you are excited about looking at something that you can do with canned apple pie filling, whether you can it yourself or buy it at the grocery store. And this is going to be, I made this already once and my son said it was the best thing ever. So I'm excited to show you what I did. And well, let's just get started. So I'm actually going to take you back to yesterday when I started my dough for this project we're making. We are making focaccia dough. One day I was making some and I knew we didn't need the whole loaf of focaccia bread for just the four of us that were here that night. So what I had done was I cut it in half, and half of it I did with my roasted garlic and rosemary. It was so delicious. And the other half I topped it with this apple pie filling before I baked it, and I used butter instead of olive oil. And then I made a powdered sugar drizzle glaze to go over the top of it. And it was scrumptious. So that's what we're doing today. So I'm going to take you back to yesterday because this dough does start the night before. And you do some stretch and folds. You throw it in the fridge. It sits in the fridge from 12 to 14 hours. And then you bring it out the next day and you have dough ready to go. So let me take you back to yesterday. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started with our dough. This is the night before. This does sit in the refrigerator for 12 to 24 hours before you actually bake this recipe. So we are starting this the night before. And I will leave the original recipe linked in the description box. This is from Becky at Acre Homestead, this focaccia bread recipe. All right, we're going to go ahead and get our bread dough going. This does start 12 to 24 hours in advance. So this is the night before. And we're going to put 2 cups of warm water in our bowl. And we're going to add 2 teaspoons of yeast. And we're going to let these two sit for about 5 minutes. If I can get my yeast open, 2 teaspoons. I made this recipe a few weeks ago and I thought that it was so good that I wanted to share it with y'all. I did the viral croissant Dutch oven bread. And I can leave that link up here in the cards for you guys if you want to see that recipe. We're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes and we'll be back to add the rest of our ingredients. All right, you can see we're nice and bubbly in here, so we're going to go ahead and add the rest of our ingredients. We need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. This original recipe came from Becky at Acre Homestead. And I will leave her recipe linked in the description box if you want to check out the original. We are going to do something a little different to it. We're going to do 1 tablespoon of EVOO real quick. And now we're going to add 4 cups of flour. I'm going to fluff my flour before I measure. All right, our 4 cups of flour. And I'm just going to use my Danish dough whisk here to whisk this all together. We don't need to use a hand mixer because we're not going to need this. We're going to do stretch and folds. We're going to do 4 sets of stretch and folds with this bread. Every 30 minutes, we will do a stretch and fold. And you want your dough to be a little sticky. So she says if it's not on the sticky side, we need to add a little bit of water to it. So we'll see how this comes together. We are a little bit sticky here. So we're going to let this sit for about 30 minutes. We're going to cover it, let it sit for about 30 minutes, and then we'll do our first stretch and fold. So we'll be back in about 30 minutes. I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap. So we'll be back. All right, so our dough's been sitting for 30 minutes here. We're going to do our first set of stretch and folds, which you're just going to pick it up and fold it over. And right now it's just a gloopy mess, but you'll kind of see how the structure begins to form. We'll just pick one up and pull it over. Rotate our bowl a little bit, pick it up, pull it over. Rotate, and actually I meant to wet my fingers. If you wet your fingers, you don't get this sticky. So we're going to pick it up and pull it over. Pick it up, pull it over. You can see how a ball is actually starting to form. So we're going to do this. This will sit for 30 minutes again, and we'll do it again. And this will be set number 1. And we're going to do this 4 total times. All right. So I'm going to cover this back. And we're going to come back to this in 30 minutes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wet my hands this time. Fingers wet. We're going to go ahead and do our stretch and folds. You can see how this is already doubling. Maybe not quite doubling, but it's already proofing. So we're going to go ahead and do our stretch and folds. So this is set number 2. It's less sticky and shaggy. It's coming into a more uniform ball. So we're going to go ahead and get this done, and we'll be back for our next set of stretch and folds after 30 minutes. All right, this is our last set of stretch and folds. Let me wet my hands. We're going to pull and stretch. And what I've been doing is pulling it and stretching it until it becomes kind of tough to pull. The gluten starts getting pretty tight, it's not relaxed, and it doesn't want to stretch with me. And that's how many times I kind of judge to stretch and fold. So it's starting to get a little tight. Maybe 1 or 2 more. It's not stretching as easily. Yeah, see, that's it. So I'm going to kind of form this into a ball. I'm going to get some olive oil because I don't want this to dry out. I'm going to drizzle that over the top. Make sure it's completely covered so it doesn't stick to anything or dry out. All right, I'm going to cover this with my plastic wrap, and we're going to put this in the fridge for 12 to 24 hours, and we'll come back to make some yummy focaccia. We are putting this in the fridge, if I didn't say that. So here's our dough. It has risen beautifully in here, and what we're going to do is we're going to do one more set of stretch and folds on this. Just going to pull and fold over. Stretch it out, pull it over. Stretch it out, pull it over. And I have made this, the focaccia bread for you once before, and I can leave that linked up here in the cards. I think it'll be on this side. And if you want to check out that original video where I did the roasted garlic and rosemary. But today we're going to cut this in half, like I said. Might need to dump it on the counter. Let me go ahead and we're going to pour. This is, let's see. It's not quite half a cup of butter. But we're just going to drizzle some of this on the bottom here, or all of it. Let's just do it all. It's about 1/3 of a cup of butter. Let me put this dough on the counter. My counter is clean. I just wiped it off. And we're going to cut this in half. Now my dough is still cold. It just came out of the fridge. And we're going to put it over here. I'm just going to start kind of smashing it out to fit my pan. Now these are, the original recipe calls for a 13 by 9 pan. This is a 9 by 11 is what size these are. Just verify. 8 by 11 instead of a 9 by 13. All right, I'm going to put some of this butter up here on top. Actually, let me flip this over. How about we do that? That way we can get butter all over both sides. And we're going to press this out a little bit more once it rises again. We are going to let this sit on the counter for about 2 more hours. It's cold right now. It just came out of the fridge. We'll let it come to room temperature. It'll poof back up, and then we'll be able to bake it. We're going to cover it up with our saran. Well, I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to put some cinnamon on here. All right, I have some coconut sugar that I had got from Azure Standard. It's a mail order. Well, it's not really mail order, but it's a delivery online grocery household goods service. And I have some coconut sugar. I sprinkled that on there. Now that I do this, I'm thinking maple syrup would be good on here. So that was about 1 teaspoon total of my coconut sugar. Now I'm going to sprinkle some. Now there is cinnamon in the apple pie filling, but when I made this before, we decided it needed a little bit more cinnamon. So that's a half a teaspoon. And I'm also going to put some salt on here. I feel like sweet always needs a little bit of salt just to balance it out a little bit. Not much. All right, so now we're going to cover it with our plastic wrap, and we're going to let this sit and rest and rise a little bit more. And then we'll be back to bake it off. And on this other half, I'm just going to do it with garlic and rosemary and olive oil. So we'll be back whenever it's time to top this with our apples and get it in the oven. All right, so our dough has risen here. And let's see, we'll open our pie filling. Love that sound. And we're going to go ahead and dimple this again. The butter is all hardened. Just hoping to put some extra butter on top, but we'll have plenty of liquid from our pie filling. So with focaccia dough, you dimple it with your fingers like this, kind of spreading it to the corners. And then all those little nooks and crannies is where our liquid is going to sit. But I'm going to, these were slices of apples, so I'm going to kind of chop them up into bite-sized pieces. So I'm going to guess that you would use about 1 can of pie filling if you're buying pie filling, because this is using about a half a quart of my pie filling. And now I'm going to kind of get some of the liquid part here at the bottom. All right, just like that. And we're gonna go ahead and put this in the oven. I'll rinse my hands first, then we'll get this in the oven. All right, we had that baking for 25 minutes on 400 degrees, and we'll be back when it's time to make a yummy powdered sugar glaze to go on top. So we'll be back. All right, so we baked for 25 minutes, and then I turned it on broil for about 5 minutes to get some little crispies on here. And we're gonna make our powdered sugar glaze to go on top now. I have melted about 2 tablespoons of butter in here, and we're gonna add some powdered sugar. About a half a cup of powdered sugar. Use my little tiny whisk here. We'll whisk this together. See if this is good. Alrighty, I'm gonna get a little sprinkle of salt. We are gonna add a splash of vanilla. Give this some more whisk, and then we're going to add some whipping cream till it's the consistency well, it's almost the consistency we want. And I'm going to still add a splash of whipping cream to this. That's all I got left in my container, I think, is a splash. Give it a little taste. Yeah, just a touch more vanilla. That's a simple powdered sugar glaze. All right, let's see if we can get this out onto our cutting board. There we go. All right, let's just go ahead and drizzle our glaze over the top. This is still very warm, so of course it's going to melt. Alrighty, are we ready for a taste test of this? All right, we're gonna go ahead and get our taste test. I'm just gonna cut a little corner off of this. You hear the crunch. See, it's all crispy on the back. I'm gonna dip it kind of in one of the little pockets of yummy goodness in here. Here we go. The crunchiness like the focaccia bread, but yet it's buttery and cinnamony and appley. That is so good. Ooh. Well, I'm gonna leave a dessert playlist over here for you if you want to try some other desserts we've made together. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I'll leave my little logo right here. You can touch that and you can easily subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.